Is it actually possible to be happy in capitalism? Now that you understand CPR, capitalism, patriarchy, and racism, the three man-made power hierarchies that rule our society, when you understand that you see it everywhere you go, you see it in the smallest nuances of interactions between friends, you see it in the workplace for sure, you see it when you're at the store and in a casual encounter between strangers. Is it possible for us to be happy? Is being hyper-aware a bad thing? Is ignorance truly a bliss? Would it be better for us to go back to not understanding how the world works and how people work? But once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So in today's video, we're going to discuss what do we do when we're in this position. Several TikTok videos drew my attention this week, and that's why I decided to make this video. The first was by Dr. Bonnie Goff. I repost her videos quite often. I also stitch her videos and give my thoughts on her scientifically backed up research on a lot of her topics are on trauma, generational trauma, and epigenetics. She has posted rodent studies on parenting a couple of times. Rodent research has been used frequently to understand primitive parenting behaviors and how an abusive mother rodent cannot be found in nature, but she needs to be created in a lab. The moment that she gives birth to her pups, when her beddings get taken away, where she's put in a position where she cannot take care of her pups, meaning resources taken away from her, and she's optionless, she cannot just go out and find it in nature, that's when a rodent mother becomes abusive. It's a combination of lack of resources, inability to take care of her pups, which puts her in powerlessness and helplessness, and that's when she turns abusive. Dr. Bonnie has posted a video about a mother. She was a black woman who gave away her 5 kids to Child Protective Services. And this woman was getting a lot of backlash on social media, and Dr. Bonnie was protecting her position. A mother does not just decide to give away her children. This woman has been put in a vulnerable, helpless, desperate position. Yet the world is not supporting women, and we understand CPR playing out here clearly. Capitalism has made basic human needs into commodity. Food and housing are basic needs, but right now, an increasing number of people around the world are not able to have their basic needs met, which really should be a human right, and certainly there's enough wealth around the world. And mothers are in the most vulnerable position. Why? Because capitalism works against parental values. An individual must have time to work, but a mother, especially a single mother, her time is tied up looking after the children, which means that she cannot provide properly. The children need care, usually at a young age, 24/7. And when a mother doesn't have support, she can easily end up in this position. The P of patriarchy is playing out clearly: misogyny. Everybody wants a woman to have children until she has children. And when she's vulnerable, we talk about powergasm. The whole society wants to take this woman down to experience powergasm. Even her own family will not support her. They will gatekeep and dangle carrots over her. Some family members will enjoy all sorts of activities that are kind of pointless, like renovating a house that doesn't really need to be renovated. Some grandparents are ripping up their floors when they don't need to be ripped up, where the mother of their grandkids is scrambling to provide for the children, watching them from afar and doing convenience grandparenting. This is the world of capitalism that we live in, combined with misogyny. Of course, race plays the part, because women of color are more likely to experience this type of discrimination, not just from their family members devaluing women, but also from society as a whole, where many will look at her and see a woman of color, especially if she has children, and see her as a vulnerable prey that they can take advantage of. She's more likely to get scammed by nice white-collar people. I also came across another TikTok video by Grant Cardone today. Some of you don't know who that is. He's one of those original make money online, make money with real estate kind of guy. back in the day, around 2016, 17, he was quite big, or he was becoming big, and he used to tell the story of how he was kind of poor, and then he worked his butt off, and he got to become this multi-millionaire. He's married to this actress named Elena Cardone, and they run this whatever business course online. Don't want to say it, but I'm just going to call it one of those businesses together. He is now a privileged white man. Before he was a white man, now he's a privileged white man. And he's been a privileged white man for quite some time. In the past, he's talked about how when he puts out, make money, whatever type of course, the types of people who sign up are not men or people who look like him. They're usually very young, black men, like 19, 20 years old. Grant Cardone has said himself that people who look like him, especially like a middle-aged white man, would never be sold by his message. He's quite shameless, actually, that he would say this, because obviously this comes across very predatorial. In this new TikTok that I saw today, he talks about the wealth class difference in the United States, how Indians and East Asians are at the top, and then he brings it all into perspective of why that race certainly plays a part, and he calls out white people when it's so easy for you, when the system is laid out for you, you choose to stay underprivileged. That was the whole premise of the video. There were different reactions to this in the comment section. Some people were saying he's being racist. Some people of color were saying he's right. White people don't understand that they have so much privilege. And some people are saying, okay, this man knows exactly what's going on. He knows that he's privileged and he's used it to his advantage. Well, obviously, every privileged person knows the privilege that they have, and they play those cards. And of course, that's how he got to where he is. In short, he said, white people who are not rich, you are not using your whiteness to your advantage. You are really unwise. What are you doing? The system was made for you. The first video I talked about with Dr. Bonnie Goff about the mother who went and gave up her children, and I forgot to mention, she actually said, I'm going to come back and get you when I'm more stable and I'm able to provide. So that was the first video. The second video I saw was this video of Grant Cardone. And then the third video I saw is something that would feel completely out there. And it's a video of an adult dancer, adult ballerina dancing to Swan Lake, particularly the scene of the dying swan. I'm going to play it right here. What do the three videos have anything to do with each other? Well, the topic today is about happiness and capitalism. My clients who have gone through the Social Elegance program with me, whether in the group or private setting, often get to a place where it starts to feel very depressing for them, because they start to realize what Grant Cardone talked about. When we really come to understand what the enlightened beings like Jesus and the Buddha were addressing, the types of pains and the suffering of humanity, they're all actually tied to the same topics we're discussing here. My understanding from a spiritual perspective is that the earth is the prison, is the jail. Against the pressure of suffering, we're here to develop ourselves, because the earth and the current human condition is what facilitates spiritual awakening and development. Becoming happy in capitalism within this context is about playing by the rules enough that you can have some level of comfort. That's important, because if you're in so much desperation and fight or flight survival mode, then you cannot really develop yourself. You're in the most reactive, primitive mode, like a rodent would be, where our whole existence is only about survival. So there's a level of comfort that we need to get to. We need to be able to pay all our bills and have some that we can save for the future. But in the midst of that race, we can forget about what it means to be alive, what it means to have joy, what it means to experience pockets of freedom while we are having to keep playing by the rules of capitalism. Sometimes people misunderstand the assignment. They think that capitalism or conquering the money part is going to cancel out the challenges of patriarchal and racial implicit and unconscious biases. And that is not true at all. So if you have this expectation and you do whatever it takes to just make money and you neglect everything else, that is the pathway to become the most miserable. And that's why within the context of being a human inside the earth prison jail, focusing on money only, which is greed, actually becomes your detriment. And that is the fast way to complete destruction and unhappiness. When a woman of color earns a lot of money, we do not earn respect. People either want to use us because of the money, because they see an opportunity and they'll see you as naive and vulnerable or someone that they can exploit, especially because if that type of person sees themselves as more superior to you based on marital status or patriarchal standards, beauty standards, race, gender, etc. That's the first. Second, they may fear what you may do to them with that money, but they're not respecting you. They like the money or they fear the money. So if you don't understand CPR correctly, then you will focus too much on the money part, neglect the rest. You do not read the condition, the human condition, and you will self-destruct. Everybody has a limitation of time, energy, money. So then happiness is about understanding how to channel so then you can create pockets of fulfillment and happiness. And that's why the last video that I showed you comes into play. I want you to right now think about what would you do if you knew for sure you had limited time to live. If you only had a set number of months or years, whatever it means to you to have a limited time to live, your priorities will completely change. And believe it or not, a lot of people think that when we have a limited time to live, that we would take our whole bank account and spend it all. That's not true at all. We suddenly start to realize that there are types of connections and experiences that matter so much to us that we have been denying ourselves of living those experiences and experiencing those connections. When you have limited time, you look at your life and realize that you put a lot of time into aspects that actually don't matter. I definitely understand I stare at the computer too much when I know for sure if I knew I had a limited time, I'd much rather look into my children's faces for extended period of time. I'd rather look into their eyes and just look at them without any distractions, without the phone, nothing. And then I realized that there are certain experiences I like to have with them. And they're simple experiences. Maybe spend more time outdoors and go out as a family and try some kind of new food. These types of experiences become the priority. The priority isn't about blowing the money as much as possible. It's the experiences and connections that we start to care about more. And then we realize that there are some places in the world that we would have always liked to visit, but we've never done it. Every time we had a chance to go somewhere, we made some other practical choice. Instead of leaning into the experiences that we want, we choose to see family because of obligation, even family that don't matter that much to us. Or we make the most economical choice due to capitalism and the fear of not having enough in the future. You may also think that you don't have a lot of money, but if you think about if your lifespan was shortened, then you probably do, because it's all relative. The money and the time relationship is very relative. And then you want to look at your day-to-day activities. Are you actually doing the things you enjoy doing every single day? Or are you doing activities only out of obligation? When I watched the dancer's video, it stopped me and I watched it from beginning to the end. I didn't skip any of it. I was mesmerized because it reminded me of a desire that I have. I realized that I want to dance some point. I want to be doing that. There's so many things that I do that I don't really care about. I care about this. I would love to dance that in a studio. It doesn't even need to be a performance. I have no interest making money from dance. I have done that already in my 20s. I have zero interest. But what touched me was that is something I want to do even when there is zero capitalistic return on investment. Then I start to think, I want to play the piano again. I want to paint again. All of these stuff start to flood in. And there's some things that I already do that I really enjoy. But then when I start to think about, what if my lifespan was shortened? Am I actually happy living exactly as I am right now? It's a very good review to do with your life as well, because it will show you why you're unhappy, or if you're happy, these are the things that you're doing right to be happy. It doesn't need to cost a lot of money. This is not like a financial suicide. It's about being mindful about what we are doing on autopilot every single day. The things that we care about, the types of people we think about, do they actually matter to us if our life, our precious life, was condensed to a shorter amount of time, if the future wasn't an intangible length of time? I call the concept of thinking about what you would do now and every single day if you knew that your lifespan was shortened, if you knew you're gonna die, which sounds morbid, but it's not. It's prioritization. It's looking at your life with value, because when you have a limited amount of anything, you value it more. I call this the death list. When I first started coaching back in 2017, I used to talk about it a lot more, and then I kind of moved away from it. Not because I wanted to, but because I got more consumed with other coaching topics. My death list at the time reflects a lot of what I'm doing now and the life that I'm living now. But life prioritization is something that we need to look at least every couple of years. I frequently talk about needing to follow the rules of capitalism to be successful and happy. I talk about needing to run your life, your personal life too, like a business, not just your career, but your personal life too. But I also emphasize that you need to have some non-business activities because we are human. Humanity is connection, and connection is love. We need to experience love and connection as much as possible. We do that through art, the pure love of an activity, and being in presence of those we love and care about. In conclusion, spiritual growth comes from balancing the two, playing by the laws of capitalism and extending our humanity. Being able to do both really well is spiritual maturity. Thank you so much for watching. What would you do if you had limited time? How would you live? Comment your death list down below. Currently, our coaching program is closed because I'm in the middle of doing my death list. But you can apply to work with me through the link in the description. Thanks again for watching, and see you in my next video.